that is used to describe the monarchy, an exact language that's used to establish their authority and ability to rule. Now, I've always found it fascinating with all of the English speaking peoples that we have in the world, uh, and recognizing that from England and the English speaking elements, and the church and Christianity and all of the biblical, and particularly in the United States of America, which is born out of England when it comes to its theology, that not one biblical scholar, English or American, has ever been able to sense that in this world that we live today, these are the symbols of the world today. And that the prophecy is speaking of someone who's supposed to come from an ancient prophecy of Daniel, which was the Roman Empire that destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, and that it would be a prince of those people who destroyed the temple that would be raised up in the final days to do this. Now, having said that, I, just like everybody else, many years ago when I was studying these prophecies and so forth, the only thing I could really deal with, and I think that the way most people approach this prophecy, the only thing that they can really deal with is this last verse in verse 18, something about the number of the name. And so in our generation, we've seen lots of different numbering systems to try to figure out. For example, in the case of Henry Kissinger, why there was somebody who took the alphabet and made the letter A 6, and then it added 6 to the next letter, and B was 12, and C was 18, and D was 24. And that's how, if you take the name Kissinger, it totals up to 666. That's how you do it. And so they were speculating, maybe they'd found a number system, that would do it. I don't think it's a modern number system at all. I think the number system that John was referring to is the same number system that John was familiar with. John spoke of this like it was no big deal, and he just said that a man of understanding would know how to do this. And in his day, a man of understanding would know exactly how to do this, because this is a well-known, what we call a Hebrew gematria number system, which has always existed both in the Hebrew language as well as in the Greek language. Even the Greeks would understand this system. You see, Hebrew and Greek do not have numerals. They just have letters. And even in the English, we don't have numerals. We use Arabic numerals. Remember back in school, they were Arabic numerals. The Arabs came up with the numerals that we use, the 1, 2, 3. That was a creation from the Arabic language. And other nations began to use the Arabic numerals and adapted to their languages. The Romans had their own numerals. You've heard of Roman numerals, okay? Well, essentially what happened was those languages that did not have a numeral base, a numeral system that went with their language, what did they do? Well, they would assign certain values to the letters of their alphabet. And so, for example, if you wanted one apple, in the Hebrew, you would ask for Aleph, apple. You'd rattle off the first letter of the alphabet. If you wanted 2 apples, you would ask for Bet, apple. Bet's the second letter, it would mean 2. And Gimel meant 3, and Dalet meant 4, and right on through. But the system was kind of a decimal system, because when you got up to 10, after 10, the next value was not 11. It wasn't incremented 1. They would move the decimal point, and it was not incremented 10. So instead of 11, it would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. You get up to 100, they would move the decimal point again. It's 100, 200, 300, 400. And in the Hebrew alphabet, we had 22 letters, and each letter had a value of between 1 through 10, or 10, counting by tens up to 100, or 100, 200, 300, 400. 22 letters. The Greek language did the same thing. Archaeologists found, going back into biblical times, etched in a rock in Greece, a man had etched in a rock and said, left a little love note. And he etched in the rock and he says, I love the girl whose name equals 545. You see, because any person's name in the Hebrew or the Greek could be equated to a numerical value. Virtually any word could be converted to a numerical value. And in fact, this is an area of study that the Kabbalists, the Hebrew mystics, get real finding numerical equivalents within passages of Torah and Scripture. And where they find common numeral values or numerical values is a clue to them of an interface or a wisdom from the Almighty who prepared this text. And while gematria is recognized as one of the clues, it's certainly not something that we're supposed to pursue to such an extent that we don't listen to the plain sense of the text. You know, the proper teaching of the Torah is to follow the plain sense of the text first, then we go to the drash or the principled level, then we go to the hint level, then we go to the mysterious level. But you build a foundation based on as it flows out naturally. And you'll find some very, very amazing things about this Hebrew gematria. And there are places in the New Testament where this is referred to many times. This is one of them. This is one of the places where John, who is very familiar with Hebrew gematria, used this as a mechanism to in advance tell the end time saints, this is one of your clues that will tell you who the Anti-Messiah is before him. So what we need to do, since we are end time saints, let's look and see if we see somebody who, according to this system and method, tracks and match with that. Now, which takes us to kind of an interesting experience that I had dating back into 1982. Since I was in the aerospace business and high technology jobs, I was one of the first engineers to ever bring a personal computer into the workplace. And I literally made my technical career on doing that and working through that wave of how computers began to work in the workplace. You know, almost anybody now, if you go to a workplace, you got a computer on the desk. In the days when I was starting in my professional career as an engineer, there were no computers on the desk. There was no such thing. I was the first guy to bring one in. The company didn't even buy it or provide it. I did, because they didn't even understand what it would do. And mind you, I worked in a high technology company, and I brought it in and began to use it as a tool. Well, one of the things that we know about computers is they're just big, giant calculators. They're not counting machines, they're calculators. And so when I looked at this prophecy and I went, the word calculate, wow, you know, in my day, that means a computer. And I was familiar with the Hebrew gematria and number system because I, grew up Hebrew and I was aware of the Hebrew language and I aware that this was a common thing that existed. And so I was curious as to whether or not it was possible to take the English language, which was the common language of the day, and convert it to a computer program that would calculate any English name or word or whatever into the ancient Hebrew number system and see what the numerical value of various names in English was. And so I built and wrote a computer program that did that. Simple, little basic program calculation where I could punch in and add names. And since I was interested in pursuing prophetic studies and so forth, I decided to build this little program and load in all the names of all the public figures in the world and see if I could find anything that would even match. I had no preconceived ideas about anybody. None. Even though I'd heard about Kissinger, I dismissed that. And I heard about the Beast computer over in Brussels, and I dismissed that. That was a bunch of nonsense. That was just people afraid of technology. So we wrote the program and put it together. And I proceeded to get down my World Book encyclopedias and load in the names of every public world figure, president, prime minister, up and coming, pope, you name them. I put them all in. And we loaded this program up. And one name hit. One name hit equaling 666. And I was stunned. I truly was stunned. But when I began to do the research on him and so forth, I suddenly discovered, wait a minute, this guy satisfies a whole bunch of other prophecies as well. I want to show you the calculation that that program produced. And that's also in your book, and it's in page 54. And in this table, if you look to the left, you see the English letter. So up at the top left, where you see A, and that equated to the Hebrew letter Aleph, which equated to the numerical value 1. And I went right on down through the rest of the alphabet, and if you'll notice all the way at the bottom, the W through Z, there is no equivalent, in that placement in the ancient alphabet. And because they've always limited it to 22 letters, I went ahead and limited mine to 22 letters because that's the way the Hebrew gematria system has always been used and adapted in any language. So I did the same thing with English. So that this produced the corresponding values. So when we, in the program, loaded in Prince Charles of Wales It produced